Despite this being an older lens, it still has a lot of life left in it. And I'd say until it really has a direct replacement, right now it still stands as a very unique lens that offers a lot of value and a lot of use. On Amazon, eBay, and other sites where you can find used camera gear, you can find it easily for under $500. And while it's not the fastest or quickest to focus, you're gonna see in the various shots I do, it's something that's kind of hard to grasp until you can see how significant of a difference it is between 18 to 135. This is in fact the first time I've used the lens at all doing this video portion right here. We're going to do a mix of 4K, handheld, as well as some 1080p 120 FPS. I've been hinting at getting this lens for a while. I was kind of on the fence. I have a pretty good arsenal of lenses in my opinion right now. I can probably replace at least 2 lenses in my kit with just one. Those 2 lenses being the 15-45 kit lens, as well as the 50-230mm, which I've been doing a lot of cinematics and short projects with as well. Glad I actually decided to try and record before I went out because I forgot to put the memory card back in. Thankfully, the camera's like, hey, dummy, you need a memory card to record. What's today's date?
It is Thursday, the 19th of March 2020.
19th of March 2020 and it's 80 degrees. I want to kind of enjoy the weather for a bit, still keeping, you know, distantly unsocial from other people. Let's do it. All the shots that you're gonna see are completely handheld. For the most part, I did my best to keep the camera in my arms pretty locked, as well as minimizing my movements as best as possible. There are times, especially when I'm switching the settings, using my other hand where it becomes a little less steady, but you'll still get the point as far as pairing the XH1 with this 18-135 lens with its stabilization, how well it can be. I notice with some of these shots here, it appears that I have a smudge on either the lens or the sensor. I really wanted to go back out and refilm some of these shots. However, with the recent shutdown of many states, including my own here in Virginia, that's no longer a possibility. But I wanted to go ahead and point it out before anyone else critiques me here later on in the video. I am aware of it. It's just I don't really have any option. I'll give you several stationary shots where I'm showing you the different focal lengths all the way from 18 to 135, just to show you how useful this lens is from a stationary position. The use case here of being able to stay in one spot and the variety of shots that you're able to get without having to physically move. For my recent testing videos using the 50-230, I really liked having that additional range over my traditional lenses of the kit lens of the 15-45 as well as my 35mm. It allows you to capture a lot more far easier. Either you're physically not able to go there, like so say something's across a body of water, say something's moving really fast and you're in this static location. For you to get over there, it wouldn't be possible. Going through the footage, one thing I definitely noticed is the autofocus, and this could perhaps be more to blame on the XH1. One thing I do notice as I'm going through the footage is that the autofocus, especially when you're going all the way from 18 to 135 in one twist, it's definitely slow and not very reliable. It takes quite a few seconds. So if you are in fact trying to get a shot quickly, this lens does lack in that department. I would suggest switching from autofocus to manual. In a lot of cases here, as we'll see, it does pulsate. The pulsing could be due to a lot of factors, not just the lens itself. It could have to do with the XH1's relatively poor autofocus system, the combination of the two. This next train shot here, shot in 4K, I'm hand holding it and slowly panning, keeping my legs as still as possible. And even at 135, it's relatively smooth still, very usable if you're not dealing with that pulsing issue we just discussed. And then if you take that same shot and add warp stabilization to it, your results will be even better if you have the ability to apply that effect. These next two 1080p 120 FPS shots are other great examples, just showing how stable results you can get with this lens and camera combination. Here's an example of why you'd want a lens that can go from super wide of 18 to 135. If we want to see the cars going across the highway that's perpendicular to this intersection, we're not able to physically move ourselves closer to it very easily if we want to catch that shot. The reason I really got this is because it starts off wide and gets pretty zoomed in. Granted, it's not going to zoom in as much as my 230mm with the 50 to 230, but the fact that it starts a lot wider as opposed to 50 means it's going to be a lens that I can probably keep on my A or B camera, because I now have the XH1 as well as the XT20. So take for example a wedding where it goes really fast, where you don't really have the opportunity and chance to switch lenses out really quickly, which is why you'll see photographers with at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 cameras that just have a lens on them. That way they don't have to worry about switching lenses when they need to. So that was kind of my thought process here. It's especially important when you're a one-man team and you're just shooting the entire event on your own. You don't want to miss any opportunities shooting. If you're doing real estate photography, right, where you want to show the whole building in frame as well as its surrounding, but then you want to go ahead and zoom in to its main details all the way at 135. That's an option with this lens. This is considered one of the best lenses for a travel videographer or photographer for the sole fact that you can keep one lens on and get a wide range of shots without having to switch it out. These next shots here were done in 1080p just so you could see what it's like a little more stabilized while I'm hand holding it here at these different focal ranges. When you compare 18mm to 135 of this building, you can just see how incredibly different this is. One lens was able to capture both of these shots here. Same thing with this sign. Another example of not wanting to miss an action shot. We're starting with this wide shot here, and then we're tracking this biker at 135 going down the sidewalk. And while the 50 to 230 is a great lens and definitely has its use cases, for my style of shooting and for a lot of other people as well, I think they'll get more use and value out of having that 18 to 50 range that you lack with a lens that starts at 50. Do we really need much past that? About 15 days later, back in the studio, finished editing most of that video. Final thoughts on this lens. It's really good. I like it. For $500 or less, I think it's really good value and you should check it out if you have the budget for it and you think it'll help you with the kind of shooting that you want to do. Like I said, the primary reason I got this is not for its overall great quality or that it does something significantly different that I couldn't do before, but instead I no longer have to switch between a wide angle and a zoom lens. I now have one lens that can do both, and it can stay on one camera, either my A or B camera. And going back to a shooting situation where you need the ability to quickly go from wide to zoomed in without having to switch the lens, that's very beneficial to me. And if you're in that same situation, then that's where I would say, yes, check this lens out. I think it's far easier to rock the one lens and have that versatility. That said, it doesn't come without its flaws. It seems that the focus with this, especially at 135, isn't that great. The sharpness at certain focal lengths has been shown to be not as great compared to say the 18 to 55 kit lens, which a lot of you probably have. Another lens frequently compared to this is the 16 to 80, which is f4 throughout, whereas this is 3.5 to 5.6. That could mean less subject isolation as well as worse low light performance. Especially in the corners, people have found this lens to not be that sharp. So if you're primarily a photographer who prioritizes sharpness throughout their entire image, then perhaps this might not be the lens for you, and you might want to go for something like the 16 to 80, which also is a little wider. The downside, however, and again, why I didn't go for that is, again, we lack that extra tele from 80 to 135, and while not the double, it's quite significant in the difference between how far we can zoom between those two. Likewise, I wasn't able to find any of those lenses for a significantly reduced price that these are going for. Despite this lens's age, it's still very unique and doesn't really have any direct competitors because nothing's as wide or offers that telephoto function that this does. So there you have it, another cool lens recently picked up that I suggest you try out as well if you feel that you share similar needs or use cases out of it. Check out some of the links down below. Those were some of the best deals that I found on them where you can save the most money on it. Using any of those links helps support the channel, of course, helps me keep making content like this. And while this is a pretty rough time, it is helping me stay a little more focused in churning out these videos a little more quickly and more consistently. I'm really working hard to make this more of a consistent thing here. We have more tech, camera, lens reviews coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you're new, and until next time, guys.